everybody, this is Bill, one of the Cryptid Brothers, and we appreciate you clicking tonight's episode, so settle in, relax, and enjoy. You'll like this one. As always, we're sincerely humbled by our fan base as we read the very positive comments and work daily to give you the best cryptid encounters while being informative also. It's what you deserve from the Cryptid Brothers Investigations of Oklahoma. We welcome our new subscribers and we thank you to our existing listeners. And if you like what you hear, just remember to please share to help us grow. Also, our website is on its way, and as soon as we launch it, we'll let you know on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. In about 2 weeks, we'll be traveling to western Oklahoma to document some very bizarre cryptid activity ranchers have experienced, and you'll be with us all along the way as we'll be filming, and we'll be going out at night, so it'll be a blast. We'll keep you posted. We're very, very excited about it. And our story tonight is told to us by Karen. Now, Karen lives in the Oklahoma City metro area and grew up in Oklahoma. And folks, I have to say that it was an absolute delight to chat with Karen, as you'll immediately hear her authenticity. She'll speak of very frightening howls at night that she heard, some odd bricks stacked on her front porch, and actually a Bigfoot print that she found just a stroll away from her home, and all this within the city limits, mind you. And what makes this episode special, in my opinion, is that I placed the pictures that Karen sent me of what I just described throughout the episode. And as she pieced together these strange events, her decision to stroll off the walking path in search of an answer proved successful. An answer in the form of a creature just 20 feet away, staring at her with black, hypnotic eyes.
Let me just kind of briefly tell you what's been going on.
Sure.
We've lived here in this neighborhood since it was built. And that's been, it'll be 12 years. Well, it just passed 12 years, so in December. So we've been here a while. And, no, that'd be 11 years. 11 years in December. And when I first moved in here, our house backs up to a little 9-hole golf course right behind us. And so, but we have put up a wood fence, for a little privacy there.
Sure.
And, so what I was doing, because I've always fed the birds, and I would take leftover bread and, bread that's kind of got green or something.
Sure.
And I'd roll it up and make little balls and, put them on the fence posts on the top so that I didn't think the animals could get it, just the birds would get it.
Right.
And then I'd put some nails in the posts, and then I'd stick fruit on it, like oranges and apples and stuff. Because at the time, we had a lot of trees behind our house, and we had a couple of Baltimore Orioles, and I was interested in those. Anyway, so I kept doing this a couple of years. Sometimes I'd have a whole loaf of bread that just got kind of icky, it wasn't really green.
Right.
But I would just dump it over the other side of the fence and let the coyotes get it because they come up right to our fence. And anyway, so one morning my husband's left for work, or he's supposed to have, and all of a sudden he's at the front door. Karen, come to the back, or come to the front here. I got to show you something. What is this? So I go out there, and right in front of the garage door to the corner is a stack. And it is a stack of weird stuff. Very weird. I took a picture of it, but unfortunately after I disassembled it, then I thought, I need to take a picture of this, so I put it back. But it was a lot neater looking, the way that they had done it. And it was a stack of bricks, not our bricks, off our house, don't know where they came from. The old-fashioned clear-through bricks, not the ones with the holes in them.
Okay.
And there were cut landscape timbers about a foot long. There were different grasses. There was a handful, I'd say about a handful of blue aquarium gravel. There was my kids are now in their 40s, but when they were little, they used to get things called Dip-It sticks, where you had this little stick of hard candy, you licked it and then dipped it in this junk.
Yes, right. All right. I used to eat those too.
Yeah, Dip-It sticks. And so there was one that was kind of licked down, but it still had the end of the wrapper on it. And but anyway, suffice to say, there were more oddball things. And I said, "Did you do that?" I figured my husband was pulling my leg, but I was thinking, where'd you get all this stuff? You know, we don't have an aquarium.
Sure.
And he says, "No, I didn't do this. I thought maybe you were pulling a joke on me."
Right.
Well, neither one of us did it. So this was, like I say, still at 2 years, all the houses weren't built yet.
Right.
So there were blank places, but we had some neighbors. The only kids that I knew of for half a mile away in this addition was a little girl 2 years old. And I thought, well, there's no way, you know, she's right across the street. I mean, her parents watch her like a hawk, and how would she carry all that? And,
sure.
But I did due diligence. I went over there and I asked her mom if maybe she and the little girl had just did a fun project. You know,
right.
It was stupid to think, but nonetheless,
right.
She goes, "I don't know what you're talking about." And she goes, "No." I said, "Well, has your stepson been around?" Because he was about 10 at the time. No, he wouldn't have been that old. He'd have been about 7.
Right.
And she goes, "No, we don't get him till next month." And I said, "Okay, well, all right." So I didn't tell her about it exactly because it's kind of embarrassing. And I thought, well, this little addition here is just right for people about my age group, really. So I took some more pictures of it and then disassembled it and put it in a different spot. And eventually, piece by piece, it disappeared. It was sort of like over the next few days, part of it was gone, then another part would be gone. And so, but I still was, you know, I really wasn't thinking of Bigfoot because we just didn't think like that.
Sure.
But then, after that, skip a couple of years, and I still kept feeding the birds and what I thought was all the birds, but I noticed I was just getting massive quantities of coyotes at the fence. And like, this is not a big backyard. It's probably 30 feet from my patio to the wood fence. So it's real close.
Yeah.
And they're like howling and stuff. And
right.
So we'd open our bathroom window because it was opaque and just open it about an inch and listen at night. And there would be really weird howls going on. So then we thought, maybe this is what they call a Bigfoot, you know.
Sure.
So we started watching stuff on YouTube. And we heard a thing called an Ohio Bigfoot, right, or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And that was kind of the sound we were hearing, but it wasn't real loud. Everybody was talking about how loud they were, you know. Well, so then after a couple more years, here comes a builder. They bought the little golf course, and during the time they were closing, they just let it go to, it was just weeds. I mean, 6-foot weeds over there. It was a mess. And more wildlife was showing up at the back fence. We had a great big red coyote, which I'd never seen in my life, and I've lived in Oklahoma forever. Well, since I was 2 years old. So I'd never seen such a thing, and it was like almost tame. We got within a few feet of it, not on purpose.
Sure.
Just by mistake, we cooked on the corner. And so I would hear all this noise at night, and sometimes it sounded like dogs were being killed. But, you know, I thought, well, maybe the coyotes had got us somebody's pet dog. I mean, and then I started hearing things like women screaming and stuff, and it was just getting creepy. So, you know, I was praying about it a lot.
Sure.
And anyway, so I'm going to jump ahead here just this past fall,
Right.
I was telling my granddaughter, who's 14, all about these things that were happening. I started telling her about it about a year ago, and we were just sitting outside because she's gotten real close to me. And I was telling her about it, and she said, well, let's go look. And so we got, it was daytime. I felt safe.
Sure.
I wouldn't go out there at night, no way. And so we go hiking around, and first thing we did was there was a series of ponds, and the golf course guy had built a real beautiful bridge over one of them.
Okay.
So we went over the bridge, but by then the weeds are 4 feet tall. But she said, look at this. And I looked, and it was stomped down. But the width between the foot was just 5 feet or so. It was as big as I am between the footprints. And she goes, what in the world did this? So we kind of jumped through there as best we could and went and looked under a tree. And there was a stack of little rocks. There was 4 of them at the time, and the biggest one about probably 3 inches,
Okay.
something like that. And then with littler ones kind of going up like stair step size. And she goes, what's that? I said, well, I don't know. The Bigfoot creature things, they kind of do this. I've read about it online that they do this. And so she was just like, oh, goodness.
Wow.
And we didn't take a camera or anything because I don't have one. And I got an old cell phone, slider.
Sure.
So, yeah. So we didn't bother with pictures because it wouldn't have turned out anyway. So she said, let's go get some fruit and put it out. And so we went back over to the house, got the fruit, went over there and stuck it all over this little pine tree that had stobs that you could stick stuff on.
Right.
And I was telling her on the way back, I said, I don't know whether we should be doing this or not. I'm not real clear. Some people say don't give them any food, but she reminded me, well, you've been giving them food for years with the birds.
Right.
So we came home. Next day, we decided it was really cold and windy, but we decided we'd go look and see.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't make it that far. It would be about 150 feet to the east, right on the other side of my wood fence, and then the rest of the neighbor's wood fence. There's a concrete gully it made for water flow purposes.
Okay.
And right behind our house now is a gigantic pond that they built, again, for water flow purposes.
Okay.
So she said, you've got to come down in here and look at this. And so, she just walked in there and squealed and said, come look at this. So I did, and it was a weird thing. It was these, I'd say 6-inch wide by a foot long red rocks, because, there's a lot of red rocks here. And they were stacked up and kind of made a hollow place in the center. And so I took pictures. I had my Kindle with me.
Okay.
And so I took pictures. And then I said, what is inside? Because we could see something down in there. And so we disassembled, and it was a blue, it looked like maybe it's from a chip bag or something. It didn't have writing on it, but it was kind of metallic-y.
Okay.
So on one side, the other side was blue, like sky blue. It was stuck down in there. I said, well, I read on the internet, too much internet, that they like blue. Snow White Bigfoot, she talks about that.
Right.
That she puts out blue cloth or something. And I said, well, let's take pictures. So I took a picture, and I had her put her foot up to it so we could show the size and everything.
Right.
Well, so then they went home, and in the first part of December, this is so recent, it's almost freaking me out what's all happened here in the last couple of months. This past December, Well, I finally convinced my husband to go look with me. I just wanted to go look and see what was going on over there.
Absolutely.
So we made the rounds, and there's a big, they're installing a footpath for the people in the new addition to do exercise on.
Right.
So we were exercising, and we got off of it to walk back to the house, and we saw a footprint, and it was just one because it was in a puddle that had just dried up, almost was dry, let's say that, but it was a small little puddle. And so my husband says, "You've got to be kidding me. This is a flat foot, no arching," and I put my water bottle down beside it and took a picture of it because I'd, again, taken the Kindle. But it's not very good because in the daytime you can't see the face of the Kindle in the sun. So you just kind of got to guess.
Sure.
But anyway, so there it was. It looked to be, we didn't have any way to measure. We weren't really all that prepared. But it looked to be about 10 inches. So it was kind of small and maybe 5 wide just by looking at the, looking at it.
Could you see toes at all?
Yes. Yeah, it was a foot. It was definitely, it was just like a,
wow.
It was like I said to my husband, I said, "Well, look, I got a big stamped out foot. I mean, there it is, got all 5 toes. Toes are kind of short, a little short. It was very strange, and he just couldn't believe it. I mean, it was right, it's where nobody goes walking. It's just not there, it's in the big middle of nothing.
Right.
Where they use bulldozers and stuff, and
off the path.
No one would have been way off the path, probably 100 feet off the path. And so that was strange. And then it would be like middle of this January, and I don't know, I just felt compelled. I can't even say why. Just, it's middle of the day, so I felt safe when my husband was at work. So I went down there to walk, but this new addition, the road they've built, dead ends in 2 places. It's eventually going to have a little bridge in both spots to cover some of these ponds.
Right.
And right now it dead ends. And from where I was standing on the end of the road, across the little bridging area, I've thought about this, about 20 feet. It's real small. It's where they built the real tiny, what would you call that, little water thing to control the water movement.
Little retention pond.
Can't think of what yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah.
And so I was looking down in there because I was being real careful not to fall. They had put in the gigantic boulders that they always line those things with.
Right.
And I just happened to look up, and there, like I say, 20 feet away, broad daylight, in the crotch of a tree it's a cottonwood that's fallen down. There's one. There he is. He's right there. I actually almost started crying, not because I was scared, because I didn't feel fear at all, none, but just because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I mean, I'm just like 20 feet away.
Wow.
And it was like shiny black. And the hair, now mind you, how I'm going to describe this pretty weird. It would have not been taller than me. I'm about 5'4".
Okay.
So it would have been little, just because I went over there and stood there myself, in a few days with my husband present. And what I could see was 2 gigantic black eyes that were so shiny. They were so shiny. And I saw one blink with one eye because this hair, I'd say it's about 5 inches long, was blowing and hit it in the eye because it was a real windy day.
Oh, okay.
Typical Oklahoma day.
Sure.
And this hair is so shiny. It's just like, it was breathtaking. But no, couldn't see a mouth, couldn't see noses, couldn't see stuff like that. It was these gigantic eyes, and the one blinked when the hair blew in it. And I stood there and I said, "Do you see me?" And, of course, it didn't say anything back.
Right.
And I heard a whoop, like that kind of a noise. It was kind of a cross between a holler and a whoop.
Okay.
And it was real low because there were some builders not too far away, like about a half a block away, building on a house. So I'm experiencing this all by myself, and I looked over to the right to see if I was going to see something like maybe a parent, because I knew this was short,
Right.
This little critter was short.
Sure.
And I looked back, and the eyes had disappeared, but the hair was still there. So I was thinking it's closed its eyes, but it didn't move. The hair is just blowing. And so I'm like fumbling around. I have my cell phone, but it's just like a terrible piece of disaster. And I can't see it, the face of it, because the sun it's behind me, but it's just directly beaming on the face of my phone. And I can't see.
Right.
And so finally, it was probably 5 minutes, and it didn't go anywhere. Every once in a while, the shiny eyes would pop back open, but I don't know why I couldn't see any face, if it was other than the hair was so long, and it was just blowing like crazy. And so finally, I just started feeling creepy, kind of like, I think you've overstayed your welcome here. I was actually feeling nervous.
Right.
And I hadn't been until that point. And so I kind of backed away and told it, "I'll see you." I don't know. I was glad nobody heard me. I felt like a fool. And so I backed away as far as I could back, and still no movement. And so then I turned around and just started kind of running a little bit to go home, because I felt real scared all of a sudden. I slowed down because I can't really run very far. I got rheumatoid arthritis. I rolled by this house and looked at the fellas, and they were just hammering away. They hadn't even noticed anything. So,
wow.
So
that's
then
amazing.
I thought, what's today? Monday?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so a week ago Monday.
Okay.
I can't sleep a lot because of how bad I hurt. And so I was up. It was about 3 o'clock, my typical time to be up. And my cat and I were just kind of in the kitchen making some chocolate milk. And all of a sudden, I heard, it's like the traditional Ohio yell that they have online.
Okay.
And it was long. It was really loud, but I could tell it had to be at least a mile away.
Oh, wow.
But it was loud, and it was to the north of my house, so it would have been almost completely across the new addition they're putting in. It's a thing with 200 and some houses. It's big, but they haven't got very much of it built yet. And so me and my cat, we both turned our heads at the same time, and the cat kind of does a sidestep back to me. We're in the house, but we're safe. But she was freaked out. She was so freaked out. And then as soon as it stopped, she took off and ran. I don't know where she went to hide someplace. It was so scary. I ran and woke up my husband and told him what had happened. And I was scared. So I just turned on the patio light because I thought, well, they don't like light. Not that I thought it was real close, because like I say, you could tell the echo, like the way the land is here is I'm a little higher, and then to the east it goes way low. And you could tell that it was kind of echoed through that little valley there. Anyway, so that was just last week. That doesn't really rise to most of your people that talk on the show. Doesn't rise to that level.
I'll be honest with you. It's very, very rare that people actually get as close as like what you're describing, so close, 20 feet away or so. When you saw that and it was behind a dead tree, was that right? Like in the limbs, you just saw the eye?
I saw from, say, mid-chest up to the top of its head. It wouldn't be any taller than me, because after that, the next day I had my husband walk me over there so we could measure just how big this thing, it was a child size, because I'm just 5'4". So, and where my head was from him looking across the little ditch there, it would have been probably 5 foot tall. But I saw the crotch of the tree was pretty low. It would hit me about mid-chest and then up, of course. And there's a lot of weeds around it because they haven't mowed over there and taken care of it 2 years since, they stopped the golf course. But,
so did you see hair not only on the face, like you were describing it, it's kind of blowing in the wind, but did you also see hair elsewhere, like on the chest and the top of the head?
Yes. It was just totally shiny, inky black, but so shiny it's like whitish, how when it shines.
Right.
I have real shiny long hair, and my hair looks like that when it blows. I don't have black, but it's pretty dark brown. And, it was just hair. I didn't see any hands. Of course, the feet were covered by the tree trunk. The eyes were just unbelievable, so big.
If you can guesstimate what size of the eyes compared to, say, like a human's, would you say?
That's real hard to guess at. They were so protruding, and it's maybe just because of my perspective.
Right.
At the time, I
Sure.
was just so shocked.
Absolutely.
But they were almost like balls.
Circular.
Or almost like round balls.
I see.
And they were totally black. I didn't see any white, but I was just shocked at how shiny black they were and how that hair, and then it would flick and hit it in the eye, and it'd blink real quick where the wind was coming out of. The hair was blowing across its face like that, or I assume the face. Like I say, I couldn't see like a mouth or anything.
Could you see a nose?
I was really trying, but I don't know. There was dark indentations, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Maybe nostrils. I don't know. To tell you the truth, it was almost like the eyes were, this is going to sound silly, almost hypnotic. They were just so beautiful. Beautiful eyes. And so dark, just black, but they shone so much. I don't know. I wish I would have had a decent camera because I was so close. How I estimate 20 feet is because we went back over there and stepped it out. So I know it was 20 feet. It was really, really close.
When you first saw and noticed that was an eye or eyes looking at you, your immediate sense is that you didn't feel any fear? Is that what you said?
Yeah, no fear at all.
Yeah. Could you sense aggression or curiosity? Did you get a sense of anything like that?
If I could say anything, it was a kind of almost like I want to see you as much as you want to see me feeling. Like I didn't feel like this thing was scared of me.
Right.
I wasn't scared yet. It was kind of like the Mutual Admiration Society.
Right.
We were just kind of looking at each other. But then after that weird whoopee kind of noise, things changed. And I don't know whether it was just me or it felt it too. But that changed the atmosphere. It was like, oh, something else is here and it doesn't want me here and I better get out of here.
Understandable. You heard that sound, that whoop of sorts from a distance away. Is that right? It
wasn't very far. I wasn't very far at all. It was there's a whole series of ponds. There's like 1, 2, 3, and then that little ditch thing where the waterfall is, and then it goes into 3 more separate little ponds that are down quite a way.
I see.
And probably as far as the end of the ponds, and that would not be very far at all. And I could tell it wasn't like that one big yell I heard where, you could tell it was trying to sound loud.
Right.
I mean, it was an aggressive sort of thing. This was more like I felt like it was a communication with the little one to chill or cool it or something, That was just kind of like my feeling, and maybe a warning to me. I looked over there, it was broad daylight, but like I say, there's trees there, and I couldn't tell, and I couldn't see because the sun was so bright.
Sure.
It's like, it's just too much.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't in the direction of what you were seeing, the being that you were seeing in front of you. It was to the side, the sound, the whoop, right?
Yeah, I'm looking straight east at the critter in the tree, and then this thing came from straight south. So just straight south of us, where we were. Yeah, because the little ponds are right there, straight south. They're just like a row of ponds going north to south, and they empty into one another, kind of like little mini waterfalls.
Right.
And so it was over there to the south of where we were, but not very far. And once that happened, the whole complexion of the thing changed. And all I wanted to do was get out of there. And I started backing up, Because I thought, oh dear, this may be a mother. Now I'm in big trouble. And so I'm backing up, thinking, what am I going to do? Because I was standing on the rocks. So I backed up and got around the big, don't go any further sign because you're going to fall off in this hole thing. And got around that and then took off because it scared me. Really scared me.
Describe again that call of sorts when you were looking at this being. Was that a whoop, just a one sound whoop, or was there a series of sounds that you heard?
Just one.
Just one.
It was very short.
Okay.
I would say like, whoop. About like that.
Just like
and
that.
Wow. Was it. Either somebody or something. It wasn't just like, well, the coyotes wouldn't be doing that anyway in the middle of the day. But I looked over there just in case, because it scared me, and I just couldn't see anything. Too many trees, ponds reflecting, it's just a lot going on over there. Plus, I got so scared.
The area that you're describing, like you said, there's housing additions in the area, but as far as the size of the tract of land that's non-developed, that's forest or trees, how big is that, would you say?
It's a mile. Some company has bought the whole expanse, or so I've heard. I don't know that for a fact, because they're only developing this half mile. And it goes about a half mile to the north, the block that used to be the golf course. And you could probably find it on there. It's called golf course. And some maps still have it on there. So you can see the layout of the ponds and everything. And of course my house is on there. It's amongst all those houses.
I'm curious, this area back up to say like a forest, or is this actually in the middle of a city, the tract of land?
If you want to go to downtown, the middle, you want to go watch the Thunder play?
Yeah.
Downtown?
Right.
That's how far I am. But you look out before they started building this addition, it's country.
I see.
It's hard to understand how it could possibly be that way. This area has not been developed. I know they're here in the winter because that's when all this is going on. I think they're here around.
When you saw this in the tree, the eyes, was it middle of the day?
1, 2, or 3. So
okay,
about there.
The afternoon, yeah.
The time of day I finally feel good enough to do something
Sure.
and motor over there, because I have to walk down to that area that when you're decrepit, it's kind of far.
Your encounter when you saw this was actually January 2018, is that right?
Yeah, just in January.
Wow.
This big scream was last Monday, a week ago today. So I know they're still hanging around.
Were those screams or howls, were those a series of howls or one big long sound? How was that?
One big long sound, very long. Matter of fact, I had time while I'm hearing it to think, could that be somebody over there? That's what I was thinking. And I thought, wow, this is still going. And I was just too scared to go out on the patio. I just was. I don't know why. It just put the fear in me for some reason.
That's understandable for sure.
I guess it was just so loud, and you know, I'm a farm girl, so I'm used to all kinds of critters at night. Coyotes always, you know, bulls getting mad and fighting each other. I'm used to all kinds of noises.
Sure.
And
this wasn't anything that you've ever heard before.
No. It was like my husband and I, many times, we've heard the coyotes. And they're, like I say, they're 30 feet away. They're on the other side of the little fence. And they hit the fence with their tails. They act like they're insane over there. It's probably a good group. I'd say at least 10 of them.
Okay.
And they leave a lot of footprints over there when they started grading it up anyway. But sometimes in and amongst that stuff, we'd hear like, it sounded like dogs being killed. And then also another noise which we couldn't put our finger on. It just isn't anything either one of us had heard. It wasn't a yell. It wasn't I don't know what you'd call it. Kind of a growly, kind of a growl, I guess you'd say. But,
wow. I
mean, every coyotes are on the other side of the fence. And I'm a light sleeper because I'm hurting a lot.
Right.
And so everything wakes me up. In our bedroom, the north side of the house where the fence is. And so I've got unbelievable hearing. It'd be nice not to hear so much because everything wakes me up.
Do you still put food and fruit on the fence posts?
No, I don't. I was afraid they might actually end up here in my yard or something.
Sure.
I mean, I got a split fence, but I don't know. I don't have any idea how they get over it. I have a gate that I go through to go out over there. When we first moved in here, we put in a gate. We had to open in because that's not my property. But the golf course owner said, sure, because my husband was playing golf a lot, you know.
Right.
He says, just put the gate in and come on over. So we did, but now with the gate there, I'm nervous about the gate there. So I've got my husband to where it's kind of boarded up a little to where it's difficult to get it undone.
Sure.
But I still go out that way when I want to go over there and look and see. Since that yell last week,
yeah,
I don't know.
No, that's understandable. The top of the fence post where you used to put the fruit, was it just kind of an arm's reach up there?
I had to get the ladder.
Oh, you got the ladder.
I'm short.
So you would guesstimate, how tall was the top of the fence post where you were placing the fruit?
7 foot. Right now I've got a bunch of birdhouses along the fence there that face east for the bluebirds. They come in the boxes there. The one that I put it on that had the nails in it, it sticks up. It's on the other side of the wood fence, but it sticks up about it looks like about a foot, maybe a little bigger. But I always had to get the step ladder, the 6-footer. I just kept it in the backyard because that's what I did, you know.
When you'd place the fruit top of the fence there, it would be gone the next day, or would it sit there a few days?
Kind of depended. I didn't have very much success with apples. So, but oranges, they would disappear overnight. I admit that it was strange to have a whole, well, it was cut in half. That would be kind of strange, but I was just assuming that maybe we have a lot of chicken hawks. We even have some bald eagles.
Sure.
And I thought, well, you know, they're probably coming along, attacking the little birds and knocking it off or something. And I didn't go and look on the other side of the fence, but I just figured
right.
It was kind of weird that a whole half an orange would disappear. When I lived up north in Oklahoma, I'd always have a leftover hull, you know, the, what do you call it, the peel
right.
would be left after they finished off the good stuff in the middle. But this, the whole thing would go. But I knew, you know, coyotes can't, well, maybe they can jump 7 feet. I don't really know, but I don't think they can.
No.
And as far as I knew, there were no stray dogs except for a couple of Shih Tzus that a lady walks over there.
Wow, that's truly an amazing encounter, what you just described. Because like I said earlier, not many people will get that close to one. They'll see it maybe from a distance, but what do you take away from that? Do you feel privileged having seen that? What's your thoughts on that?
I do. I feel like it was a blessing.
Sure.
You know, my husband had been tossing around. There's a theory out there of Nephilim, things like that.
Right.
And I keep telling him, even when this yell scared me,
right.
It wasn't the same thing as another kind of fear that I've had in the past, a long time ago. It wasn't the same. It
right.
was, this is a big animal, kind of, I'm scared of it. I hope it doesn't come crashing through the door
sure.
every minute, the feeling.
Right.
I didn't feel like it was an evil spirit. And this little one that I was having this eye contact with, I did not feel any kind of bad vibe at all. It was just like, I'm seeing you, you're seeing me. Let's look at each other. It was amazing.
And you describe it like being hypnotized in some sense.
Well, yeah, because I still think to myself, why wasn't I trying to look at the face more? It was like these eyes just, I couldn't take my eyes off of them. They were so beautiful.
Sure.
And so shiny. And then that hair blowing. It was just beautiful.
That's astounding.
It was just beautiful.
Yeah, that's a great story. Yeah. It really is. Have your neighbors described anything that's weird that's happened to them that you know?
I haven't talked to them about this. There's a neighbor that's quite a ways away, and one day she was complaining about something, and we were behind the fence, as we call it here, on the other side. And I said real quick, have you had any Bigfoot activity? I said that real quick. And she goes, excuse me? And I said, oh, nothing. Never mind. She goes, what did you say? I said, oh, it's nothing. Because I got embarrassed real quick. I thought, oh, she's not a very pleasant woman as it is. And I just didn't want her running around telling everybody that I was a kook.
No, truth be known, they probably feel the same way, that they've had their own experiences that they want to keep to themselves. Yeah.
Well, and see, she is in much more up the scale than ours, and they have no fence. She and her neighbor, their yards just went into the golf course, and so right down by those ponds. So I've always thought, I bet they have, well, they're walking through there. And I didn't even tell you about last summer that I had a footprint in my grass in the front yard.
Oh, wow.
Of course, I knew they were coming to the front yard because I believe one of them built that little stack to kind of thank me for feeding them.
I think you're
although
right.
I wasn't consciously doing it.
I think you're right. I think that was a gifting scenario there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. And this was, again, I took a picture of it. I have a picture of it, too. And it was about a foot long, a foot long, something like that. And you could see the toes of what it was. They were going down a sidewalk, and one of their foot went off, just right there at the edge into my grass. and I keep my grass kind of plushy, and so it made an impression. And I saw it the next day when I was running the edger. I came right up to it. So I ran in the house and got the camera.
Wow.
There's lots going on here.
It really does sound like, yeah, you definitely have a lot of activity around where you live. Usually we'll, have someone tell us of a one-time event, but you have ongoing activity, which is really amazing. What was your thoughts about the possibility of Bigfoot prior to your experiences with where you live now?
Oh, I had no skepticism about it. I've seen enough weird things living out on the farm.
Sure.
As a child, I saw things. I'm pretty sure I've seen a dog man that was up by Oklahoma, and where we lived up there on a farm. Had an experience with that, but this would have been when I was about, say, 13, 14 years old. I was out way away from my house because that's what I did. I went and laid down in the pastures. You're all moody when you're that age.
Right.
Lay down in the pasture and get moody. And so that's, I was all moody. But I had went down to the little Bitter Creek Bridge and was sitting on the bridge and saw it off in there. It's like really dark in there with all the trees and stuff. So it was a really cool place to sit in the summer. And I'd sit on that little bridge. Just beautiful. Just like everybody's picture they think of a little creek, And I saw a shadow and I thought it was somebody, which kind of weirded me out because I was a teenage girl all by myself, at least 3/4 of a mile from home. So I kind of thought, ooh, maybe I better go, but I wanted to, and then I thought maybe I should sit still so they don't see me, because I was sitting close to one of the big rails on the bridge.
Right.
It's an old bridge, a wooden bridge. And so it moved, but what made me think of that again is my husband and I, when they were digging out this pond behind our house, we found the most huge dog print we've ever seen in our lives. It was massive. And my husband says, what could that possibly be? I mean, it was beyond belief. And there was lots of them. And at the time, they were letting that pond dry out, so there were fish everywhere, that were kind of halfway drying out too, but they were dying off. And so we had lots of activity over there with animals, and just were over there looking at all the fish dying.
Did you take pictures of those prints?
No, I didn't. And my husband and I just both were thinking, how stupid was that? And it rained the next day, and when it rained over there, it came a torrential flood. We should have thrown down something to measure it. And we were just all a-gaga about how big it was and didn't even think to try to measure it or take a picture of it or anything.
They look like dog prints. What would you estimate, if you spread your hand out, or how many inches across a print would be?
Bigger than my hand, but I have small hands. Almost the size of my husband's hand.
Wow, and they were definitely canine, dog prints. At least that's what the appearance was.
Let's see, when I stretch my fingers from the thumb to the end of my little finger is 7.5 inches. So it would be at least 9 inches.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's gigantic.
It's like to say we've never seen anything like that. And we decided, we're not real good between a cat, like a mountain lion, although we're supposed to not have them here. But
right.
Of course we did.
Sure.
And, but we're not supposed to. So we don't know. We were thinking, maybe that's a mountain lion track, but we didn't see any toenails or anything. And I can't remember whether they retract their nails or not. Neither one of us are trackers.
Wow. But there was multiple prints, large prints like what you're describing, just everywhere.
Oh, probably a dozen of them at least, minimum. But we were remarking also how far apart they were. They were also far apart.
You could tell that at least it was walking a certain direction.
Walking towards the west. See, it was in kind of mud.
Right.
because that pond was drying out. And although we couldn't have gotten right up there next to it, because we'd have sunk a foot, but, my husband was trying to get out there and slipping and sliding, and he held his hand out, and it was at least as big as his hand.
And how far
And
apart
so
were the
then
prints, roughly?
I would say each one, and they're like offset from one another,
Mhm.
like 3 feet, 4 feet maybe.
Okay.
More like a 2-legged person, a
Yeah.
2-leg thing than a 4-leg thing. They don't usually walk with their legs that far apart.
Sure.
But
That's truly amazing to find those tracks. I'm sure your husband was wondering, okay, what's going on here?
yeah, it really scared us both, because we were thinking, man alive, what is that?
Sure.
If that's a dog, where is it?
Yeah, it sounds like the tracks that Lance and Wiley Dave saw out there and documented out in western Oklahoma. I don't know if you saw that episode called Hunting Dogman in western Oklahoma, and they came across some prints that they casted. We show some pictures in the episode.
That's what made me start thinking about it when we saw those big tracks. And that would have been last year when they first were bulldozing over on the land.
I see. I was just going to touch upon when you said when you were in northern Oklahoma as an adolescent in the prairie that you saw a dog man. Can you go just a little bit into what you saw and how far it was away?
Yeah, I can try to remember that as well as I can.
Sure.
That's been a while.
Understandable.
That it looked like a cartoon that I had seen as a kid with a what's the name of that cartoon? It's a wolf, or he was a wolf, but he was a goofy wolf and had a long snout. And I immediately at the time thought, wow, that looks like that, whatever it was. I think I must be quite a bit older than you.
I think like Wile E. Coyote.
No, I don't think so. I think it was older than that.
Okay.
But that's what it made me think of, and I thought, well, gosh, that's no guy. And I can't tell you how big it was. It put the jeepers creepers all in me, and that bridge had some problems with it, with legends and things of people seeing creepy stuff down there. So I just skedaddled and ran home, and that was just too creepy.
Wow.
But whatever it was, I just saw black shadow and the side profile of something that looked, what it really looked like? It looked more like an alligator head. That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
A long, thick snout-looking thing. So.
Wow, that's amazing.
Take that for whatever you think. I don't know.
You definitely have a lot of experiences, and again, we appreciate you reaching out to us, and thank you for your great story that you've shared with us. We really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, Karen, you have a great day. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.